Accepting that offer? It could cost you $10,000. Here's what to say instead. Have you ever walked out of a job interview with that tiny pit in your stomach, the kind that whispers, something about that offer just doesn't feel right? Maybe it wasn't just the number on the contract, but the way they delivered it. The tone. The hesitation. Or maybe it was how fast they moved to wrap things up after you nodded. And maybe, just maybe, you said yes, even when your gut was saying, not yet. Let's be real. When you're just starting out, or even pivoting careers in your 20s, getting an offer, any offer, can feel like a win. You want to prove yourself, get your foot in the door, start building that life you've been dreaming about. But here's something most of us learn the hard way: accepting a lowball offer doesn't just mean less money in your pocket today. It can change the entire trajectory of your career. Let's paint a picture. Say you accept a job for $38,000 a year when others in similar roles are earning $50,000. That's $12,000 left on the table. Over 3 years, you've lost more than $36,000, and that's before we even talk raises, bonuses, or what you could have earned had you started stronger. But it's not just the math. It's the message you send to your employer and to yourself. When you say yes to less than you're worth, you're not just underselling your skills. You're agreeing to an entire story about your value that might not be true. And companies, whether they realize it or not, take note. That acceptance sets a tone. This person settles. And once that tone is set, it's harder to change the music. I remember a friend, Jen, who took her first job at a tech startup. They pitched her the "we're like family" angle, which sounds sweet until it's used as a reason to underpay. She was excited, grateful. But 6 months in, she found out a guy with the same title, less experience, was making $10,000 more. When she asked why, they said, he negotiated harder. Here's the twist: Jen almost didn't ask. And that's the real cost of a lowball offer. It erodes your confidence. You begin to question whether you deserve more. Whether speaking up makes you difficult or ungrateful. Whether maybe they're doing you a favor just by hiring you. But they're not. Hiring you is not a favor, it's a decision based on your value. And knowing that value is your first line of defense against low offers. That means researching industry ranges, talking to peers, and even when it's uncomfortable, asking the hard question: is this offer in line with market rates for this role and location? Now, here's where things get tricky. A lot of people are afraid to push back because they think the offer will be pulled. And look, there's a difference between being entitled and being empowered. You can negotiate with confidence and kindness. Try something like, "I'm really excited about the opportunity here. Based on my research and what I bring to the table, is there room to explore a higher starting salary?" That sentence doesn't burn bridges. It builds them. And if a company rescinds an offer just because you asked that question, trust me, you just dodged a long-term problem. A former classmate of mine, Derek, once said yes to a job he wasn't thrilled about, simply because the salary sounded decent for a first gig. But 2 years in, he realized he had never asked about growth paths or promotion timelines. By the time he wanted to move up, they already saw him as someone content where he was. That initial acceptance didn't just limit his income, it shaped how they viewed his ambition. Every job offer is a conversation, not a command. And when you treat it like one, you shift the dynamic. You move from passive acceptance to active participation in your own career. So if you're facing a lowball offer right now, pause. Take a breath. And ask yourself, what message do I want to send about my work, my worth, and my future? Then, craft your response from that place of clarity. Because this isn't just about one paycheck. It's about building a future where you don't have to shrink your voice just to get your foot in the door. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for what's right. And when you do it with honesty, respect, and preparation, you give employers a reason to see you not just as a hire but as a partner. So go ahead. Be brave. Be clear. And above all, be your own biggest advocate. Because no one else can negotiate your worth like you can. But let's say you've already taken the offer. Maybe you didn't know what you didn't know. Maybe the pressure to say yes was too intense, or maybe you were just relieved to have a job lined up. That doesn't mean you're stuck. The beauty of any career is that it evolves, and so can your positioning. One of the best moves you can make is to start documenting your wins. Seriously. Every time you solve a problem, take initiative, or deliver results, write it down. Why? Because the next time you sit down for a raise or promotion talk, you're not just asking with hope. You're bringing receipts. You're saying, here's the value I've added. Let's talk about aligning that with my compensation. And if you're not sure how to bring it up, start simple. Ask your manager what success looks like in your role. What would it take to move to the next level? How do people in the company typically grow? These aren't annoying questions, they're smart ones. They show you're invested. I once coached someone who'd been in a role for a year without a raise. When they finally asked why, their manager said, "We didn't know you were looking to grow." That hit hard. Because they were doing great work. But they weren't vocal about it. They assumed the work would speak for itself. Here's the truth, it doesn't always. In a perfect world, yes. But in real life? You've got to speak your value. You've got to advocate. Not with arrogance, but with clarity. Because your future is too important to be quiet about. Now, what if you're still in the interview phase, and the offer is lower than expected? This is where prep pays off. Instead of reacting, respond. Say something like, "I appreciate the offer, and I'm genuinely excited about this opportunity. Based on my research and what others in similar roles are earning, I was expecting something in the $X, $Y range. Is there flexibility here?" That's calm. That's reasonable. And more often than not, it opens the door to a better outcome. Even if they can't go higher on salary, sometimes they'll offer a signing bonus, better benefits, or an earlier review cycle. But none of that happens if you don't ask. Negotiation isn't about being difficult. It's about being deliberate. It's about choosing not to shrink yourself just because you're grateful. Gratitude and ambition are not opposites, they can walk hand in hand. So the next time you're presented with an offer or a chance to renegotiate, remember this, you're not just fighting for a number. You're setting the tone for everything that follows. And that's worth standing up for. So wherever you are in your journey negotiating your first job, sitting on a salary you know could be better, or preparing for that next big leap, don't let fear be the loudest voice in the room. Let it be your knowledge, your preparation, your quiet confidence that says, "I know what I bring." Because the real cost of accepting a lowball offer isn't just about the dollars. It's about momentum, self-worth, long-term opportunity. And once you see that clearly, you can start making choices that honor who you are and who you're becoming. Leave a comment if you've ever been in that tough spot, or if you've found a way to turn a low start into a strong comeback. You never know who your story might inspire. And hey, if this video helped you see things a little differently, hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, and don't forget to subscribe for more real talk on career, confidence, and building a future you can be proud of. You've got this. You're worth it. And the right opportunity will recognize it, especially when you do. Until next time, keep growing, keep asking, and keep showing up for yourself. Your future is listening.